Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video I'm going to do the rapid fire book tag. I was tagged by Nigel at Reading Ideas-UZ9XK and Pat at Book Chat with Pat 8668. Thank you both for tagging me. Just going to repeat what they said to properly credit the creator of this tag. This tag was created by GirlReading, which Nigel and Pat believe is no longer an active channel. The instructions for doing this are: answer the following prompts in rapid fire without spending time thinking too much about each response. And there are 25 prompts. Prompt 1 is ebook or physical book. Ebook for ease of reading. They're just easier for me to read. They're much more portable. I can have on my phone my Nook library and my Kindle library on my phone, so just easier to read. I do like, though, going to bookstores on occasion. I only go every few months, but I do like to be amongst books, and I do like buying physical books, but overall ebooks is my choice. The second prompt is paperback or hardback. For ease of reading, I would choose paperback. They're just easier to read. For collectability, I would choose hardbacks. I don't collect too many books, but for special edition books that I do collect, I'd prefer hardbacks. I think they're more collectible. The third prompt is online or in-store book shopping. I do way more online book shopping. It's just easier, and the majority of those are ebooks, as I mentioned in the first prompt, my choice. But as I said, I do like every few months to go to an actual bookstore. It's actually a local Barnes & Noble, maybe about 20-minute drive from me. And I just like being amongst the physical books, and I always buy a good half dozen 8 books when I go there. Buying books, I just enjoy physical books more. Online shopping is easier, but every once in a while I like to go to a bookstore and buy physical books. The fourth prompt is trilogies or series. I'm not doing very good in recent years, even reading second books in a series, but I guess I would probably lean toward trilogies just because it can be hard to maintain interest over a series longer than that. If an author can do it, that's great, but I would prefer trilogies. The fifth prompt is heroes or villains. Generally heroes. I don't know as I really like villains. There are anti-hero types that I do like, but pure villains, I would lean toward the heroes over the villains, in a clear margin. As I said, I can't think of any villain that I really liked. The sixth prompt is a book you want everyone to read. There's no book I read that I would unreservedly recommend everyone read. My books tend to be dark, and they touch on topics that I can't really recommend for everyone. But just kind of looking at my stack of books I got right in my right. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston was a very good YA book. So if you don't mind YA books, it does have some topics that people might have problems with. It has some rather harsh things to say about a Southern Christian school. And there is a sapphic romance in it, so those things may mean it's not for everybody. But that's just one I'm just looking at that I really liked. It's just one that caught my eye when I look at the stack of books to my right. The seventh prompt is recommend an underrated book. I did have to look up the exact title of this one, but One book I would recommend that I think is somewhat underrated, even though it had a fair amount of hype, is The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. Again, I can't unreservedly recommend this book either, because this book does feature a lead character who's trans, and he's put through a lot of difficult situations, and I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. It's YA also, YA horror, but I do think it's underrated. I would like more people to read it. I recommend people read it. I don't think anyone's taken me up on that yet, which is kind of a little upsetting, but that's one. The 8th prompt is the last book you finished. That is, it's actually right here. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I finished this on January 1. And I should have shown this one too. This was my answer to the 6th prompt, a book I would recommend everyone to read. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston. The 9th prompt is the last book you bought. That's one that I just bought, or I actually ordered. It's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This book came with a ticket to a virtual event I just bought. Just bought within the last hour or so. The 10th prompt is Weirdest Thing You've Ever Used as a Bookmark. I can't remember absolutely positively the last thing, but I think it's probably one of these pens like this. The Court of Mist and Fury I actually had a bookmark for, so I didn't need this for that, but it's probably something like this. It's just something I have at hand. Wouldn't want to be dumb and have the pen open because it could streak the page, but it's probably something like this. I'm guessing it was probably a pen. The 11th prompt is used books, yes or no. For me, that's a no. I buy new books. Although I donate a lot of my books to the library so they become used books, but I like buying new books. The 12th prompt is top 3 favorite genres. I just go by what Storygraph said when I looked at it recently for my yearly wrap-up, and that is contemporary, fantasy, and horror. I might add the 4th genre, it said romance instead of contemporary, because I don't quite view contemporary as the same level as those other ones, but so we'll just say that, contemporary, fantasy, horror, and romance, because that covers both things. You got the top 3 that Storygraph said, but I don't really consider contemporary at the same level as some of those other genres. The 13th prompt is borrow or buy. My preference is to buy. I enjoy buying things, especially books, but I am, ever since I got a new library card and signed up for Libby and Hoopla, I do borrow from them a fair amount of books. I also borrow a fair amount from Kindle Unlimited, so my preference as an activity is buying a new book, but I am more and more gravitating to borrow them, and occasionally make a library visit and borrow a physical book there too. The 14th prompt is character or plot. To me, character is more important. Obviously, you have to have a plot. You could have great characters, and if they're not doing anything, it's just boring. But books that are pure plot, I can enjoy them, but I have to have some understanding of the character, their motivations, some depth to them, to what I like best. That's a problem I have with a lot of classic books I've read. They don't seem to, in the ones I've read, do go very deep into what the characters are like, their motivations. The 15th prompt is long or short books. I guess it's kind of almost like a cheating answer, I suppose, but I guess I like medium books best. I like all types of books, but I guess if I had to choose, I would choose short books over long books because I like a sense of completing something. And with a long book, it takes a long time to do it. And it takes a good author to hold your interest for a long book. So having to choose between the two, I'm going to choose short books. The 17th prompt is name the first 3 books you think of. Now, I won't mention any of the ones I mentioned already. Just off the top of my head, Dracula, The War of the Worlds, the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft. Those are just off the top of my head. 18, books that make you laugh or cry. Well, the laugh is an easy one. It's Clowns vs. Spiders by Jeff Strand, a book I read. I think it was in November that I read that book. That was laugh out loud funny for me. Book that makes me cry is harder. Sometimes I get a little emotional, but a book that actually makes me cry. I did have to look up the name of this book, although this is a book I thought of. It wasn't so much that it made me cry exactly, but something happened at the end, close to the end, that was a real emotional gut punch. I described it when I talk about it and review it. It was like an emotional punch in the gut. It's like it tore my heart out and stomped on it. And that book is All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I had a strong emotional reaction to it, but it wasn't one of crying. I'm not saying I never get a little emotional, but I can't think of offhand any book where I actually maybe shed a tear or came close to it, even though there has been those books. The 19th prompt is Our World or Fictional Worlds. Initially, with this one, I want to say fictional worlds because our world, in my opinion, is becoming a place that there's a lot of things I don't like going on with it. Won't get into that. There are a lot of things I don't like going on with it. But as I really think about it, I think a lot of the fictional worlds a lot of the fictional worlds in the books that I read, they're the kind of places that I probably wouldn't survive in. The fantasy worlds. So the dystopian worlds, books like that, probably wouldn't survive in them. So I guess I have to grudgingly say Our World because I don't think I would last in the fictional worlds in the books that I read. The 20th prompt is audiobooks, yes or no. That's a big yes. I haven't gone too deep into audiobooks yet, but I've enjoyed every one I've read. And I do listen to them in a way that others don't. I just sit as if I was reading a book and I totally concentrate on it. But when doing that, my comprehension of audiobooks is just as good as physical books. The only exception to that is in books that deal in rather weighty scientific topics. I think the physical book is better in that instance. The 21st prompt is, do you ever judge a book by its cover? The answer until recently was no, but now there is a book that I did judge by a cover, and I will step away, get that book, and come back to show it to you. And the book is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, a massively popular author who is also much reviled by people who don't like her books. I wasn't going to buy any of her books, but I was in Barnes & Noble the last time I bought some books. I just saw this book and I love the cover. It's kind of interesting too because this is a cover from a movie adaptation, and I think I've seen in other tags that people don't like movie adaptation covers, but I did buy this book because of its cover because I wasn't going to buy a Colleen Hoover book. That just wasn't going to happen. I've not read the book yet, so I can't say what I think about it, but this is the one book I can think of where I did buy it because of its cover. I should say too about that book that there is a considerable controversy surrounding the movie. There's some back and forth lawsuits going on. I won't get into that, but there is some controversy about the movie. The 22nd prompt is book to movie or book to TV adaptations. I guess overall I have to say I prefer book to movie adaptations. There is an advantage though in book to TV adaptations that they can take more time. They can do it as a series. But I just think in general, I guess, more money is put into movies, so I guess I would lean toward those. The 23rd prompt is a movie or TV adaptation you preferred more than the book. I can't offhand think of one. There may have been one. I have not gone to movies in a while, so there's nothing fresh in my brain I can think of. I tend to best like an adaptation when it used close to the book or the book series. Ones I think of offhand are the Lord of the Rings series, the Harry Potter series, the Twilight series. To my mind, those movie series, and they're all series, follow the books pretty closely, and that's what I like. I forgot to do prompt 16, so here it is. Prompt 16 is long or short chapters. Although I realize that the only thing that really matters in a book is the word count, I like the idea of feeling I'm making progress, so I like short chapters more than long chapters. The 24th prompt is series or standalone. Although I'm not doing a good job of reading series lately, I would prefer a series because I kind of hate leaving characters that I really like. So I prefer a series, but that's just assuming that the author can keep the quality and have an engaging storyline, characters that are engaging that I want to continue reading it. Otherwise, a standalone would be better. It takes the author to keep that interest. The 25th prompt is tag others. First, I'm going to say if you're watching this video, please consider yourself tagged. If you'd like to do this tag, please do so. Whether one or more of the prompts in your own video or one or more of the prompts in my comments. But I am going to tag some specific people. I'm going to tag John at Disquiet and Dragon Stash LH3ZM, Nix at Nix Reads, Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading, Philip Hall at Poet Reads to Write, Smitty at A Booksmitten, Kayla V at Reading with Kayla V, Justin at Trumpful Reads, Milena at Milena Milano 8833, Fred at Read by Fred, Roy at Roy Reads Anything, Jen at Literary Love 123, Flossie at the Grape Jelly Library, Maeve at Maeve _ ever _ books, I at ili.02, Gavin at Genre Books 23, Nicole at Nicole's Bookish Nook, Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, Emily at the Linguist Library. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified of future videos. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week, and I hope you're having a wonderful week in general.